Okay, in this video we're checking out the Dr.X selfie drone from TI, and this is a, very similar to the DJI Rise Tello that I reviewed a few months back. A little bit different frame here. I think the motors are maybe about the same size. A little bit smaller props. Got these prop guards on here. Brush motors, of course. The camera's a little different here. It's a 1080p camera, not a 720p camera, so supposedly supposed to have better video, but to be totally honest, it wasn't really all that great, and I'll get into that here in a second. Get this little removable battery in the back here, and this battery is you just have to lift up this tab and pull it out. This looks like a cell phone battery. It's a 1S 650 milliamp hour. This one comes with just one battery. I think there's a version of this that comes with, like, I think 3 batteries, I believe. But this is just the one with the one battery. And I just leave it in here and I just charge it via the micro USB port here. It takes about a couple hours at least to charge up. And there's also a micro SD card slot right there. That's another difference between this Dr.X and the Rise Tello, is that this one records directly to the micro SD card. It's 1080p video, so it's 1920 by 1080. It's about 13 megabits per second at 30 frames per second. So it's okay bit rate. It's a little on the low side. I think that for 1080p, 30 something in the around 20 megabits would be better. So you get a lot of pixelation. But the biggest problem with this one here is I get a lot of jello from the video, whereas I don't really get that on the Tello. So even though it is 1080p and not 720p and recorded directly to a micro SD card, all those are great benefits, but the something about this frame or the prop guards or something is causing a lot of vibration, so the video you'll see is got a lot of jello in the video. The quality of the video in terms of the color reproduction is okay for the bit rate. It's kind of on the low side, and there is a lot of pixelation, so it could be better there. The field of view is pretty narrow as well, so if you're really up close, it's going to be like, it's going to look very zoomed in. I don't think there's any image stabilization, so as this is bouncing around in the wind, it's just, you can see the shaking quite a bit more on this one versus the Tello. The other problem I had is with the app. When I was using it, the virtual sticks on the screen. It just seemed like this one was a little bit harder to use than the Tello app, but that one seemed to be more responsive. And so, for example, you would press down and then move the stick, and you want to move it in one direction, but then the little button on the screen would actually wouldn't actually match your movement. So I guess it could be an issue with my phone, perhaps. But I don't know why it was doing that with this app and not the Tello app, because the Tello app, you would move the stick in one direction, it would move in that direction. So what would happen, I would be moving in, let's say, like the one direction, like roll to the right, I'll be going this direction, all of a sudden it would be moving backwards, because it would include like the roll to the right or the left here, and then say like a little bit of back elevator as well. So I just found that when I was trying to do precise movements, it would be kind of going all over the place. It was really difficult to sort of film stuff going very slowly. If you just kind of fly it around, not really care too much about the actual direction, just constantly make corrections, I guess it's okay. But it's not really meant for that. I think this is really meant for like kind of slower flying and selfies, that kind of stuff. If you're trying to do like little zoom aways, that kind of thing, this one was harder to control. And then another problem I had was with the optical flow. There's a little optical flow sensor on the bottom here. It would be, when you first launch it at the very beginning of the flight, the very beginning of the battery, it's very stable, doesn't move around very much at all. Obviously it is affected a little bit by the wind, but as long as it's got a good lock on the ground, it stays pretty much where you put it, as long as you're not touching the controls. Now what I found was maybe a couple minutes into the flight or so, it would just suddenly, the optical flow sensor would just kind of freak out, and it would just suddenly just go off to the one direction or the other, and I couldn't really control it. I tried to bring it back. I didn't really know what was going on, why it would just all of a sudden it would be stable, and then the next minute it's just like going off, and then I would end up crashing somewhere because I couldn't control it, or I had to do an emergency landing, something like that. That was pretty consistent on pretty much every flight. It would be very stable at the beginning, and then in a couple minutes into flight, it would just start behaving very erratically. So yeah, I'll go ahead and show you the couple flights I did and some video footage here after I talk about this. But ultimately, I think that for $80, I would recommend just go and spend the extra $20 and get the Tello instead. And I'll put a link to this in the description, as well as the link to my video for this one. Even though it is sending the video back to your phone via Wi-Fi, it's not recorded directly on the drone. Yes, there is some stuttering in the video, but you know, in between the stutters, the video quality is better. The video is more stable. This is also easier to control. I thought even though it's 720p video, it actually looks almost as good as a 1080p video. It just looks better overall than this product here. I think that they have to work on the software some more, the app, and the stabilization of the flight. I think those are the biggest differences between this product and the Tello. Tello just got all that done correctly. Just the app works really well. Flight's really good. It's just that the only downside, I think, is the 720p video, and it's sending it back via Wi-Fi and not recording it directly onto your phone or onto the drone, onto a micro SD card. So anyway, that's my recommendation. I'll go ahead and I'll show you some footage of this from my head cam, and also on the phone as well as some recorded video from the micro SD card. Okay, so I'm connected to the drone via Wi-Fi and the app, and I think it starts off in the low speed mode, and in selfie mode I switch it to aerial mode, and you want the mode 2 setting, not mode 1, and the joysticks are virtual on the screen. Let's go ahead and start some video, and we have 93% battery, good signal. We'll go ahead and take off. So there should be some optical flow, should be holding it in place. And it does appear to be pretty stable. See there, it's not moving at all. Very, very, very stable. Optical flow seems to be working. So if you start off in selfie mode, all the controls will be reversed. So I think they do it for people that are going to have the camera facing them all the time. This is what they call the aerial mode. Not a lot of wind right now, so you can see it's really stable. The video coming back to the phone, at least, looks like it's electronically stabilized. Looks really clean. Looks kind of like the Tello. Take it out here a little bit. Yacht around. Alright, so I got out past the trees, there's a little bit of wind there. You can see me. A little bit of wind up there. Drifting a little bit. Let's bring it down. I think the further away you get from the ground, it does get a little bit more drift in. Alright, let's see how it does now. I have hands off the controls, and at this altitude it looks like it's fairly stable. Just a little bit of bouncing around in the wind. It's not too bad. Alright, let's bring it down a little bit. I'm trying to do some of those same shots I did with the Tello. A little bit windier now. Try and go back. And so using this on-screen joystick is a little bit tricky. I want it to go backwards, but it goes either left, mostly left or right. So you got to, yeah, that time it's going. Let's take it up a little bit. So the controls are a little bit trickier to use on this app versus the Tello app. And then once you let go of the controls, it does keep going a little bit in the direction it was going, so it doesn't quite stop right away. Now we're at 48% battery. Let's try one of those little zoom away. Yeah, you can see it's really getting bounced around there. It's not really that windy. It's fairly, seems like it's sensitive to the wind. Alright, so let's try one of these zoom aways here. And it's still going that direction. So the controls on this are not as easy to use as on the Tello. It's a little bit more difficult to be precise. Oh, that's the end of the battery already. So we went from about 48% battery to about 20%, 19% battery in under a minute. I think the last time I mentioned the battery. So flight time is kind of short compared to the Tello. That was kind of a short flight. So I guess I'll have to charge up the battery and do another demo flight a little bit later.